You are listening to X-Wing Radio.
That's right. I'm David. That's Wesley. And this is X-Wing Radio, your weekly podcast from a galaxy far, far away. It's supposed to be broadcast, but I kind of flubbed the line out there a little bit, so we're just gonna roll with it. It's already my second
Okay.
attempt trying that intro.
Yeah, that's the sad part. I mean, all right, what are we like? I don't know, David. I think by now you should have the title down, but I guess, eventually you'll get
Well,
there.
no,
Um,
I had the title down, not the intro. At least not like
you know
last
what I
week where I
mean.
tried to do the old intro.
Uh,
No,
anyways,
this week I just had I just
you
forgot who I
couldn't
was
remember
for
who
a
you
second.
are.
So
You couldn't
yeah,
remember who you were. Well, that still
yeah,
throws things off. So, uh,
yeah.
it it is what it is. It is what it is. David, so what are we talking about today?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like we've been talking about the Acolyte for so long. I mean, like we don't have anything to talk about now.
Well, I mean, there's plenty to talk about, but I'm honestly curious because we did discuss last week what we were going to talk about this week. I'm honestly curious if you actually know what we're talking about today or not. Sure, we're not starting the show off talking about the Acolyte because, well, the show's over, so we don't need to talk about it anymore. But
We don't need to keep beating the dead horse.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, now I'm
Where does that
curious,
term
David. Do you
come
know what
from? Is
we're
that like
talking about today? Where
where
did the
that term
term come
came from?
from? I mean,
Because like people beat paper horses all
probably.
the time, like pinatas, but like, I don't know where the term dead horse came from.
So does that
Anyway,
mean you got to beat
but
the dead horse long enough to get the candy out of it? Where we at? Where are we at on this? We still beating the same horse? We do have to make sure that we're beating the same horse, like
at this
collectively.
point,
We could be beating.
I'm not even sure if we're beating the same horse, so we might have to work on that.
Oh no,
But
we're beating a
as
donkey.
as for what we're talking about this week, I seem to remember something about Palpatine.
Yes, well, he did come on last week and manipulate us into talking about him this week. So, what did I just say? Anyways, a little brain dead. It's been a long day, David.
I don't know.
So
We're
yes,
both delirious, and this is going to be an interesting episode.
but David, we're always delirious. I think it's just a matter of how much. So I think it's just a little bit more than normal. Um, David, so next week on the docket for scheduling, we are planning on talking about the Plagueis novel. Uh, it is a really, really good book that we will dive
Hmm.
into more next week. Now, last week, I think it was before we started, you told me that you had finished it. In the Plagueis novel, if you have read it, for those listening, you will know that it dives into a lot of early Palpatine. It takes place before Plagueis takes Palpatine as his apprentice and goes all the way up till about the end of Phantom Menace. So we get to see a lot of the behind the scenes of how Palpatine grows into the Sith Lord that we meet in the prequel trilogy and then later on in the sequel or in the original trilogy. Uh David, where do you want to start this conversation? Because there's a lot of things that we could talk about within this character. Um, but like, what do you want to dive into with this character? Because there's just so much. I don't know if you have an outline of what you want to talk about or plan, or are we just going to wing this
You
like
know,
we normally do?
real quick, I just looked up, trying to find his Wikipedia article, and all that came up when I googled Sheev Palpatine is this guy called Darth Sidious. Do you know who that is?
No clue. Do be warned, if you do look up his Wikipedia, that thing is long.
Yes, yes, it is. Also, I
Like,
can't help but notice. So I just pulled up the Wikipedia article for this Darth Sidious guy. Apparently he's got two different heights.
what?
He's either 1.73 or 1.78 meters tall.
That's a okay. Interesting.
He also
Well,
apparently weighs 75 kilograms,
oh,
which
he only has one
that's
weight
like,
though.
yeah, he only's got one weight, 75 kilograms. So his BMI would be very different depending on which one, is actually. But I think
That's true. That's
or
true.
75 kilograms is like he's actually kind of light. That's like 180 pounds. Dang.
I mean, I guess you do look at him and you see that he's like, I mean, he's not when you look at him, you don't automatically think, "Oh, big, powerful man." Like, so in the Plagueis novel, we see a lot of how Palpatine grows into into being a senator and then into the chancellorship. And so he gains a lot of power, like political power through a lot of those things. But like in what we see him in like some of the Clone Wars stuff, and then later on in like Revenge of the Sith, we see him fight a lot. And with him not being the biggest and strongest guy out there, he would be an unassuming uh duelist, or I mean, obviously your power in the force has nothing to do with your size. Yoda is one to attest that. But you know at least with the lightsaber skills, uh that was one area that I was more intrigued in when I was doing some research on him. So that is something that I'll bring up at a later point. But the duel in the Clone Wars when he fights Savage and Maul, he doesn't have that much weight behind him, but he was able to fend off Savage Opress and Maul, who, you know, would probably weigh a little bit more than 75 kilograms.
Oh boy. Okay, so there gets some interesting stuff here. I just read ahead a little bit in the Wookiee article, as opposed to Wiki article. Wookiee article. But it actually does talk about Sheev Palpatine here. Um, so yeah.
Could you figure out who he was?
Well, here, let's just read a little bit here and see what it says. Okay. So, Sheev Palpatine, and also simply known as the Emperor, was a male human Dark Lord of the Sith. Where did that come from? I thought he was just like the, Chancellor of the Republic.
I thought we did our acting on New Moon Media.
An Emperor of the
Either
Galactic
way,
Empire, with his reign lasting from 19 BBY to 4 ABY. Uh, rising to power in the Galactic Senate as the Senator of Naboo, the secretive Sith Lord cultivated two identities, Sidious and Palpatine, using both to further his political career. He deceived his way into accomplishing his goal. He orchestrated the fall of the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order through the Clone Wars, and then established his reign over the galaxy, which lasted until his death at the Battle of Endor. Um, this is supposed to be canon, but hold up. Okay, I'm just gonna keep reading. However, the dark side of the
sorry.
Force gave rise. gave rise to powers which allowed him to escape death, seeking further immortality until the Emperor was eventually permanently destroyed and killed during the Battle of Exegol by Rey, his granddaughter, born of his strand-cast clone son, Ethan, and his daughter-in-law, Miramir. What did I just read?
A lot of words. S-
Pretty much as soon as it got into the Disney canon, it almost pretty much as soon as it got into the Disney canon, it read like one of those Starships articles.
yeah, it looks like that. So let's break this down. Okay. He What am I thinking? What am I gonna ask? What am I getting at here?
What's it? Okay, we might share half a brain cell, but that doesn't mean I can read your mind.
I know, but do it anyways. Um, what was it? Ooh. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so in one of the things I was looking at. Oh yeah, I know where it's at. This is on the legend side, I believe. But it was talking about prophecies that were foreseen about Sidious before his birth. One of them was by Darth Tenebris, who obviously was Darth Plagueis's master, who was Sidious's master. Um, Let me read this a little bit here. So it says sometime before 147 BBY, while still being taught by his master, Darth Tenebris calculated it with his enormous brain about the future of the Sith, and saw Palpatine's coming as the shadow that will mark the end of several things in a way that would darken the galaxy. Envisioning the arrival of a, quote, one Sith that would no Oh, sorry, this is typo. That would not need a replacement and rule forever. Though Tenebris thought naively it would be him. So obviously, Tenebris here is thinking that this one Sith that's gonna essentially rule forever is gonna be him. Plagueis thought the same thing. Uh, and then Palpatine was about this close to doing it. So obviously, I think we've talked about it before with how powerful Palpatine is. But can we briefly talk about how, like, I can kind of excuse because I know the explanations for it, but I can kind of excuse why Palpatine was killed in the original trilogy. But this guy was probably the most powerful Sith, or at least in the top five. Okay, most powerful Sith, definitely at the time, because it was him and Vader. But he probably was one of the most powerful Sith ever. And he still was at the time of the sequel trilogy. So, Rey shouldn't have been able to do anything to him. Um,
The thing about in the sequel trilogy that I find just like mind-boggling is the fact that like it goes from that one scene of Palpatine using Force lightning and you know attacking an entire fleet of ships to him getting killed by Rey.
yeah. Have you seen that edit where Anakin as a Force ghost beats him?
No, I haven't.
Well, I need to show you too. It's a really cool edit, but essentially all it is like Anakin as a Force ghost appears, and the Emperor goes and he shoots Force lightning at it. Anakin catches it, um, like like Yoda does. He catches it with his hands, and then he like pushes it back on on the Emperor, killing him. And I know why they didn't do anything remotely close to that in the movie, but like it's so much cooler to watch. Like you can tell, like obviously all they did was they took clips of Anakin and they took like they pieced together different clips, but they made it look pretty good. And they added in, they probably used some AI for certain lines or whatever because he speaks in this, and he says something about like oh, Sidious says like I am the Sith or I am all the Sith, and Anakin goes uh but I am the chosen one, and then he evaporates Sidious. It's pretty cool. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you later. Um, but that was more realistic than anything remote. Like I understand Rey was supposed to be
Now,
all the Jedi, blah, 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 but it doesn't make
that
sense at all.
that also raises an interesting point too, because also, in this movie, earlier in this movie, Luke, as a Force ghost, catches a lightsaber,
Hmm.
and of course, you remember that kind of sparked a lot of stuff with people saying that's not how Force ghosts, that's not how the Force works. But
Yeah.
honestly, though, if any Force ghost had the ability to interact with the physical world, it would be Anakin. I feel like
Yeah.
just from the fact that he is the chosen one, and the fact that like the stuff we
Well,
saw in Ahsoka.
I I know it technically has more to do with the fact that it's was a low budget and they weren't really thinking about it at the time. But I mean, in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan interacted with the environment. So I don't think that it's necessarily that the Force doesn't work like that. I do agree that if the Force doesn't work like that, if someone was to do it, it would be Anakin, or make most sense for it to be Anakin. But like technically, I think that, you know,
Well, I think that the
there
main
is
part of it
precedent for
was
that.
more just a joke as to why, why they don't just get an army of, Force Ghost Jedi could use lightsabers.
Yeah.
And
Well, okay,
honestly, the
all jokes aside, there are like some reasons behind why they wouldn't.
mhm.
But I don't know how much of that like we want to get into. We can dive into that maybe another day. But
Honestly, I think the still kind of sticking on this tangent of Force Ghosts. So I know you haven't read Over the Empire yet, but or you at least haven't said you have. But kind of early on in the book, there's this scene where Luke is talking to Obi-Wan's Force Ghost, and this is actually the last time he talks to Obi-Wan's Force Ghost, because in where the Empire explained that like they can only be like a Force Ghost for a certain amount of time before they like get so far away from the physical world in the Force that they can't communicate with it anymore. Which honestly,
hmm,
I'm not sure how I feel about that but I actually don't mind that as an explanation for Force Ghosts and stuff. And that might explain
yeah,
why like
I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I guess when we end up reading Heir to the Empire, and talking about that, I'll come up with more of how I feel about that.
stay tuned because I think we have that scheduled for October.
Probably, probably. Um, so David, back to Plagueis, back to Palpatine. Both P's. It gets confusing. We're gonna talk about one this week and one next week, so it's yada ying yay ding dong. Um, do you think Palpatine was the most powerful Sith ever. And then go off of like not just what we see in the movies, but what you know or have heard that he did or has done. Like, I mean, obviously, most of what we know about him has come from that, but I'd even say digging into certain source material that may no longer be considered canon. Like, do you think that he was?
I mean, okay. To a point, you said you dig into certain stuff that has to just maybe not necessarily consider canon, but you kind of have to do because in canon, the only Sith we see are Darth Maul, Darth Vader, and the Emperor. And then the only other two Sith that are actually confirmed in canon to be real are Plagueis and Bane.
Technically, Revan is canonized.
Did they mention him in the Clone Wars too?
I think he's in Rebels.
Rebels? Okay. Okay.
I
Well, 'cause
think.
I know
I
Bane was
know
mentioned in
there's
Clone
a
Wars,
holocron
but
of him.
yeah. So
Maybe.
okay,
But
so
I know Bane is in
so
Clone
we'll
Wars, and I
include
think. Yeah, anyways, continue.
okay. So even if we include Revan on that, Plagueis, Bane, and Revan are just pretty much name drops in canon. They're
Hmm.
not actually like in canon, you know. So if you talk about in canon, you can't really
Well, well,
obviously Palpatine's the most powerful, but
what I mean by that is I mean more like the feats that Palpatine shows, like what he does, compared to ancient Sith lords that aren't canon per se. Um, but like compared to him. So like, you got like Darth Vitiate, you got Nihilus, you got all these other like what's the guy who didn't die or died and kept himself alive through anger? Like all those different like the ancient
mm,
Sith lords, comparing them to Sidious, but not necessarily only considering it to what we know of Sidious in canon is more what I'm asking.
mm.
Like if
So
there's
I would
certain
say
material, go ahead.
maybe with the exception of Darth Bane, Palpatine's probably the strongest Bane era Sith, so Rule 2 era
Hmm.
Sith. Because a
Hmm.
lot of those like super powerful Sith were, with the original Sith Empire or the Sith Order, they were running around, but not so much with the after the Bane era Sith.
Hmm.
Because that's when the Sith went into hiding, and there might have been some more powerful, but they didn't really have the feats that Palpatine did because they were in hiding.
Yeah. Well, I also find it interesting. So, uh, again, referencing the Plagueis novel. Maybe this week and next week will be our breakdown of it. But anyways, uh, in the beginning of it, when Plagueis kills Tenebris, he talks about how like he's not on guard when he's killing when after he when Tenebris is dying. He's not on guard like old Sith of old might have had to be because essence transfer has been lost to the ages. Well, Palpatine transfers his essence. I mean, he did it in comic books and books long before we got the sequels. So that was a thing where after when Palpatine was dying, he transferred his essence to a clone of some kind. Like that's been a thing in Star Wars. So he figured out how to he studied, he trained, he learned how to do that. So a power that was lost to the ages, Palpatine brought back and learned how to do. So that's one thing that has been, he brought back. Um, so like it's a thing of like how many other feats did he know how to do that maybe he never felt the need to do? Like, okay, who I think it was Darth Nihilus, who's the one who devoured the worlds. Like he just sucked the life out of worlds, like the Force essence out of worlds. That would not be something that Palpatine would ever have a need to do. Now, would
He
you
has
say
the
that it
Death Star
is
for
or
that.
isn't his Death Star? So yeah, it doesn't really matter. But like, do you think that like if you say, hey, well, this is a much more powerful feat, well, it's like, all right, cool, but why would Palpatine need that? So like, I don't know, like obviously like Palpatine's ability in the Force was greatly unmatched, especially in his era. But the Sith were obviously few in number, and the ones that were around were trained by Palpatine, aside from Plagueis, and he got rid of Plagueis pretty early on. Um, and the Jedi were weaker than ever at that point. So, it's like, does he look so powerful because of who he goes up against, or is he actually that powerful? You don't have to have an answer, but I'm just kind of posing the question.
It might
I
be
think I have a
part. It
bug
might
in
be
my
some of
drink.
both. Might be some of both. But
Like Emperor
I
Vitiate,
will-
you can't really question his power too much because of the fact that he ruled with an iron thumb the Sith Empire when, like you said, it was at its peak. He was ruling it, and he fought and defeated many people who were highly skilled. I mean, I think it was him. He's the one that trapped Revan, I believe. And Revan was nobody to sneeze at when it came to force abilities and like all that stuff. So, when you're leagues above someone who's leagues above everyone else, you're pretty bad. So, but like we said, like there's not that many people to compare Sidious to in his time.
also though some of the he did still stand toe to toe with the best of the best Jedi at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ooh, ooh. Which I have more to pour on my argument as to why Sidious uh let Windu beat him in the fight and he did not actually lose.
Go for it.
Oh, well, all it really is the fact that Sidious is while Sidious didn't care for using a lightsaber, he much more preferred using the Force and thought of the lightsaber as more of a crude weapon that kind of beneath him, basically. He still mastered every single known form. I would believe, and from little research that I did in this area, that would include Form 7 Vapod, or the form of Form 7 Vapod. So if if you're using I find it hard to believe that if you master any form of combat, that someone using that form of combat can beat you in it. Like I know that there's levels to it, but with the way that Sidious is and the mastery that he would have, I don't think that just because Mace Windu used Form 7 on him would automatically mean that he would have the upper hand in beating Palpatine. Like there were many that I mean you can think about it. There were points that Palpatine could have finished that fight pretty early on, but he was toying with Windu. And again, like I said when I was pitching my thoughts on this last time, with how manipulative he is. And honestly, that's like one of my favorite parts about the Plagueis novel is we get to dive into even more so the manipulation that Palpatine shows. Um, but like with how manipulative he is, I doubt that all these little pieces can come together, but then he miss the opportunity because oh, he got bested in a duel. Like, I don't think Mace Windu was a good enough duelist that he would pose a threat to Sidious. Like, I think Count Dooku, who is the best, known to be the best duelist of that era, was probably still below Sidious when it came to that. We just don't see Sidious fight as often.
Yeah.
But if you're a master of all forms, I don't think that you're gonna end up, at least Sidious being a master of all forms would lose in a fight like that. But hey, you can disagree, not you, but people. You're not allowed to disagree. We share the same brain cell, so if half the brain cell is already thinking it agrees with me, then you just have to agree. A quarter of the brain
Nice.
cell, because we share half a brain
Yeah,
cell, so a
I was
quarter
about
of the
to
brain
say
cell. I was halving the quarter of a half of the I was halving the half. There we go.
half of a
It's a quarter.
interesting. You sure?
I don't know, but if we half, we have a quarter. Actually, we have 2 quarters, which means that we have 2 cents.
That's actually 50 cents.
Yes, but we have at least 2 cents. Anyways,
I'm kind of surprised because we don't typically make sense.
no, definitely not.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm looking on starships.com. I don't see any articles pertaining specifically to Palpatine.
That's interesting.
Actually, here's one that might kind of pertain. It says, explained who are Rey's parents in Star Wars.
Oof. I don't
I
know.
kind of need this I kind of need this explained, so this might actually be a pretty good one to read.
Okay.
All right, so let's see if this actually gets into some Palpatine stuff. So, who are Rey's parents in Star Wars? Again, this article is by Brad Burney. I think all of these articles are. Was originally published on January 2nd, 2022. How long is this? I don't think it's that long. Okay, it's actually pretty long. Alright, so I'm gonna try to read this all in one take, which even if I don't, I'm not I'm not cutting any of this out because it's probably gonna be hilarious. But Star Wars is one of, if not the, most popular science fiction franchises in the world, drawing over half a dozen movies. I feel like there are a dozen movies now. It's drawing over half a dozen movies and countless adaptations in other media. Franchise that started in the height of the 70s in the US has now become a global phenomenon. Its latest trilogy of films focuses on Daisy Ridley's character, Rey, as the central protagonist. And to no one's surprise, Rey has been the center of the mystery surrounding her parentage ever since she was introduced in The Force Awakens. So, the big reveal of Star Wars, who are Rey's parents. It seems that Kylo Ren's declaration that Rey's parents were far from being legendary stalwarts, stalwarts, and just nobodies instead was true. In The Rise of Skywalker, it's revealed that Rey's father was a clone of Palpatine, and her mother was a simple woman whom he loved on the planet Jakku. That I feel like that this answers the question of the article, but the article's still going on. Uh, who is Rey? First introduced in 2015, the 2015's film Force Awakens. Rey is depicted as an orphan who was living alone on the desert planet of Jakku. As a scavenger, later on, she joins the Resistance and trains to become a Jedi under Luke Skywalker and General Leia. Introduced as an orphan along with the film introduced as an orphan along with the film portraying her longing for her parents and her wait for them as she scavenges through spaceships. Details about her parentage become a buzz as soon as it was apparent that she was the central character of the sequel trilogy. Again,
I
sentence structure is important.
I just when we read these things, I get the sense that I'm listening to a report that someone in my class did, and I'm in third grade. Like that's what it sounds like. I'm sitting in a classroom, and my one of my classmates over here is doing it, and it sounds like there's so many run-on sentences. It is astounding.
There's another run-on sentence here. Okay. Ever since her introduction, the Star Wars fandom has gone into a spiral of meandering paths trying to figure out the significance of the newly introduced protagonist of such a cult franchise.
What was the point of that?
In the years leading up to the release of and the film and thereafter, the there have been numerous fan theories as to who could have been the parents of Rey. But before we go any further into this article, there's a spoiler warning of ahead of time so that you do not come and and blame us for having spoiled anything for you with regards to a timeless classic sci-fi series. It also makes it harder to actually read it because I don't know where the inflections are supposed to go.
Yeah, I think what would be good is to, at the bottom of each one of these articles, he should have a video of him reading these. So then you know what he was intending.
So
Or maybe
he
he should
says
or he should get an
he, he
editor.
puts he puts the spoiler warning after the paragraph where he says that uh Ray's where was it? That Ray's father was a clone of Palpatine and her mother was a simple woman who lived on Jakku. I feel like
Well,
that paragraph also answers the question of the article, yet the article keeps going. Alright, so the other fan theories. So the first one is Han Solo and Princess Leia. One of the most popular and well-known fan theories is that Rey is the secret child of Han Solo and Princess Leia. In the old expanded universe of Star Wars, Han and Leia had a pair of twins called Jason and Gina Solo. During the time of the release of the sequel trilogy, it was popular belief that Rey and Kylo Ren were in fact Jason and Gina, and that the trilogy would eventually culminate in the revelation. However, the the publication of further canon material on Rey and Kylo Ren refutes this theory. He also uses seemingly he uses big words for seemingly no purpose other than just the fact to use big words.
Yes.
I feel like he could explain this stuff better in simpler terms. But I digress. Another popular theory is that
Well,
Rey is Another popular theory is that Rey is the daughter of none other than Luke Skywalker. It seems only natural if you consider the prequel trilogy was about Luke Skywalker's father, whereas the original trilogy was about Luke himself. Therefore, the trilogy sequel, not the sequel trilogy, the trilogy sequel will focus on the next section of the Skywalker name. We never found out who was Darth Vader's father. Who who was Darth Vader? Who was Darth Vader's father was. Before you go looking up signs of a stroke, I'm just reading what it says.
oh, David, don't worry. I don't ever think. Uh, I'm used to it by now.
The consensus around this theory began to gain hold during the reveal of the name of the last film titled The Rise of Skywalker, with believers in the theory advocating that she was the long lost daughter. The proponents of this theory harp The proponents of this theory harked on the fact that the preceding film, The Last Jedi, focused majorly on Luke's disillusionment with the Jedi Order and its principles. One of the Jedi principles is not being able to engage in romantic relationships, and Luke being the archetype, arch, archetypical rebel, archetypical rebel. I'm not even sure if that is a real word. The fans were sure
Ah, but it
that Rey
sounds
was the
big and
daughter of Luke.
fancy.
However, like previously, yeah. However, like the previous theory, the bulwark of this theory also falls short of justifying itself against the con- country. I'm not even gonna finish that paragraph. It's just too much. It's just too much in that one. All right, so how much is okay? There's not a whole lot left. Okay. A less popular but slightly plausible theory is that Rey could be the daughter of Kira, a character introduced in the prequel. Okay, I'm gonna read this again, and you tell me what's wrong with this. Okay, a less popular but slightly plausible theory is that Rey could be the daughter of Kira, character introduced in the prequel trilogy as a former love interest of Han Solo. Kira's character definitely fits the bill to consider Rey in such a storyline. Wait, Kira's character definitely fits the bill to be the mother of Rey, and such a storyline would not break the already existing canon. Whether Rey could be portrayed as a child of the union of Han and Kira, or someone else with Kira, is a different issue itself. However, this does go with the declaration of Kylo Ren that Rey's parents were nobodies, given Kira's own struggles with poverty and lawlessness. Also, again, the beginning of this article, it literally says she's the daughter of Palpatine's clone. But
But then it still goes into all the theories. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
also, yeah, so apparently Kira was introduced in the prequel trilogy as a former love interest to Han.
Yeah, they missed that one.
Alright. The clone theory, as the name suggests, this theory, which has multiple variations, argues that instead of having real parents, Rey is but a clone of of one of the several major and minor characters that have been introduced in the universe. While some have gone to suggest that she might be a clone made out of Luke Skywalker's hand, others suggest that she might be a clone of Anakin or his mother Shmi.
When was this
Several
article written?
variations. Hmm?
When was
This
this
article was written
article
in
written?
2022,
Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay.
Several variations of the theory exist, and this seems to be another of those explanations which could be true and go within the canon information already available. Alright, and the last theory, Palpatine. Around the time around the time the details of the third film came to light, information that Emperor Palpatine would be a part of the sequel trilogy has left some fans wondering if the Emperor indeed is Rey's father, or or if she is one of several clones that Palpatine has made. That's all this is about Palpatine.
The one theory that's actually right, it
And
does
that's all it
nothing.
says.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, here's the conclusion. Although the reveal seems like an anti-climax. Not sure that I've ever heard anyone say anti-climax. Normally it's anti-climax, okay. Although the reveal seems like an anti-climax of sorts, when seen in the context of the sequel trilogy, it makes perfect sense. The last three films focus on Rey's journey of discovering and of discovery and her coming into her own. The fact that she could be what is without a grandparent, what is the fact that she could be, the fact that she could be what she is without a grandparentage that is a testament to that journey.
Don't
I
cause
swear,
yourself to have a stroke by reading this.
I swear, these articles are gonna give me an aneurysm.
You be careful reading them. I
Oh
know you
boy.
love going to the website, but maybe it's a bad thing for you. Oh,
Ah,
all right.
honestly, don't know if it's just a combination of the fact that you and I are both probably dyslexic, or the fact that this is like I don't know which one's worse.
I think there's probably a combination, but I think the worst side is the article.
Yeah,
David, so putting that behind us, I did just send you a quiz on
I see
Palpatine.
that. Yeah,
So if you want to go click on that real quick, we can maybe take it and
from
see how well we can see, quote, how well do you know Emperor Palpatine?
and it's from StarWars.com, and there is a little bit of a description here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Says, admit it. Even though he is arguably the most evil tyrant to ever rule the galaxy, we all have a soft spot for Emperor Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious. The wrinkled
wait, they're the
complexion,
same
evil.
person?
David's still catching up. The wrinkled complexion, evil glare, and toothy grin all add up to one baddie we love to hate. In honor of Ian McKellen's birthday, the actor who brought this icon of evil to life, we put together a quiz testing your knowledge of Vader's master. Try your hand below and let us know how you did. We're looking forward to completing your training. Real quick, real quick. I honestly, I understand how bad Palpatine is. Palpatine is a really, really good villain, and not even like obviously if he was real, he would be awful. But like I don't really like. I don't even hate him. Like I see him. He's like he's the arrogant kind of powerful, but like he can back it up, and you're kind of like, I want him to win, even though like I don't want
Well,
him to win.
that's kind of an interesting thing too. There's almost like two different archetypes of good villains. There's like Palpatine, where like you almost have to like him because he's such
Because
a
he makes you. He
yeah.
says, I'm gonna torture you otherwise."
But
Yeah. Anyways, mind tricks.
well, it's yeah. But then there's also the other archetype of like really good villains that like okay, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, High Evolutionary. That movie
Mm.
makes you hate that character's guts, and that's why he's a good
Or
villain. Palpatine is
what's
like
her
the
name?
opposite. Who?
1 second. I know how to find this. Yes, yes. David, have you ever watched the Harry Potter movies?
It's been a while.
Okay. Well, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, Palpatine is one side of the spectrum. You can also think like Loki from the Avengers movies, right? The
Hmm.
other side of the spectrum is Umbridge. You just hate her. Whenever I think of villains that I despise, she's on the top of the list. Top
Fair enough.
shelf.
Fair
But
enough.
but well good well portrayed because I hate her so much. But anyways. But I mean like thinking about it like, and we've talked about this before. I just love and again, so I've been listening to the audiobook. I'm on my like fourth listen through right now of the Plagueis novel. Um and one, I'm doing that because we're talking about it coming up. But two, like I really like the book because like I really like the character Darth Plagueis. But aside from that, I really like seeing like when we talked about the Phantom Menace, you got to see so much more of like I don't know if I just realized it more or what, but I saw so much more of the manipulation that Palpatine, like how he was pulling the strings, and you could kind of see how he was setting things up for later down the road. And in this book, you see how he sets everything up, how he plays everyone, how honestly, he kind of plays Plagueis too. Like there at the end, I mean, he deserved to be the master at that point. Like he deserved to kill Plagueis and become the Sith Lord. Um,
Mhm.
and it's because he outwitted him, like he did. And that's like that's the like for as powerful in the Force and for as great a duelist Palpatine is, his best skill is his planning and scheming and conniving and all that. And that's like really what makes him like the villains that like okay, you're talking about Heir to the Empire a minute ago, right? And in a couple of months, we're going to be talking about that trilogy. What makes Thrawn such a good villain is the fact that you can't just like you have to figure out a way to outsmart them. Like the only reason in the end the Emperor was defeated was because he was blinded by his hatred and how much he just wanted to kill Luke. He was blinded by he had that tunnel vision. And so Vader was able to sneak up behind him essentially and kill him. If it wasn't for that little split second, the Emperor probably would have ruled forever.
Well, it was also somewhat arrogance too, because he didn't. think it was
Mm.
possible that Vader would turn against him.
Which is kind of ironic because him and Plagueis both died because of arrogance.
Mm,
Like Plagueis challenged Palpatine, and Palpatine didn't, yeah, like you said, didn't think that he thought he had Vader in his back pocket. Um, so you know, but like he he planned everything out. Obviously, he had some Force knowledge and all that fun stuff, but nonetheless, and the portrayal of Ian McDermott, sorry, uh, he did he's done a phenomenal job. Obviously, it was really cool when I first learned that he was Palpatine, or he was Sidious in the original trilogy, and he reprised his role in this in um the sequels. Yeah,
prequels.
um prequels. Well, he did reprise his role in the sequels, but anyways. So he does a great job. He's a great actor, and he really does he really does good with Sidious. That all being said, David, do you think you know how well you know Sidious? Yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
Now I'm
Okay,
having
let's see.
now I'm having the
Take
stroke.
quiz. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is Palpatine's first name? Is it A, Galvus, B, Sheev, C, Finis, or D, he doesn't have one? Now, that's kind of interesting, given the Plagueis novel. We'll, we'll,
Yeah.
I know we're talking a lot about it now, and we're talking again about it next week, but so we probably shouldn't be talking so much about it. But that's kind of interesting, that last answer, because in the Plagueis novel, it does not actually mention. I can't remember if it even mentions his first name at all, but he does not go by his first name. He only goes by his family name.
Yeah, I do think it does mention at one point in it that his name is Sheev Palpatine, but like even later on, he drops his first name and goes by Palpatine as his name, which later on, when he's trying to win over Dooku, Dooku even mentions that he might do what Palpatine did and drop and go by his household name, like by his family name, I guess is the best way to put it. So, which makes me wonder what's Dooku's first name?
I don't actually know that because Dooku is the family name, so I don't know what.
Yeah. So, and in the book they call him Master Dooku, and then they call him Count Dooku later on towards the end of the book when he goes and stakes his claim as Count of Sereno. So maybe before next week we should do some research and find out. Hopefully, between the two of us, one of us will remember. All right, so David, what's his first name? Obviously, it's Gladys. So
Yes, obviously.
yeah. All
All right.
right, Gladys Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
You are right. That's what it said. All right. Who was Sidious's master? That's the hard one. Darth Plagueis, Darth Bane, Darth Calus, Darth Maul,
It's Darth Maul, right?
Darth Gladys. Wrong.
Oh, I don't have that
Yeah.
option.
David, make it an option.
Well,
Alrighty.
obviously it's Darth Callus, but you know, if someone listens to this show for the first time and isn't aware of the way we take these quizzes, they're probably very confused as to why we like are so vehemently saying the wrong answer on every question, even though we're
Yeah. They're
answering the
like,
right question.
yeah. And then the people who don't know what we're talking about, and they're sitting there and they're like, oh, and then they go to their friends, they start talking about this, and they're like, no, I listened to a podcast. And they're like, well, that podcast is full of idiots. And they're right, but it's hurtful. All right. Which is what is I don't want to read it like this because it sounds stupid. What is his home planet? It says which is his home planet, but blah, blah, blah. Oh no 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 no. Okay, good. I accidentally hit my mouse and I thought I was about to click the wrong answer. I did
Uh,
not, so we're good.
what? So, which is his home planet? Is it Coruscant, Mino, Malastare, or Naboo?
Nabooby.
Um,
David, the
but
David, the intrusive thoughts are winning. The intrusive thoughts are winning. I'm sorry.
I let you have a freebie last week.
David, you give me an inch. It's a little weird, but I'm gonna take a mile.
Okay,
Or is it what is it? You give me an inch, and I was expecting more. All right, so he's from Naboo. Moving on. Uh,
Give me the hiccups.
all right, that's I have accomplished everything I need to in life. I've given David the hiccups. I'm not sure if that's because of laughing or because I've made him very uncomfortable or if it's a combination of both. But right now he looks like he's suffocating on my screen. So you
Okay.
need more than an inch for that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. How did Sidious betray his master?
You could. I'll
Uh,
finish reading this one. You seem to be okay. Why did you say he betrayed his master? Killed him in his sleep, stole his holocron, um, joined the Senate. I am the Senate. Rescued a Jedi. Well, half of these don't make sense. Which I know what they're going for here, but he wasn't sleeping.
I mean, that's the one that they want you to like. Yeah, he was drunk, not sick. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah. He made him go to sleep real quick. So,
Yeah. Okay. Uh, who
alrighty.
did Sidious kidnap as an infant? Savage Opress,
Mm,
Count Dooku, Darth Maul, or Asajj Ventress? Now, the interesting thing with
okay.
this is Dooku is like 20 years older than Palpatine.
Yeah. It's obviously not Savage Press, because he doesn't come into play lit till later. Ventress was a Jedi, so he wouldn't have kidnapped her as a child. That
It's
wouldn't have
Jedi Order did.
yeah, the Jedi Order did. So I'm assuming they're going after Maul here, although he didn't kidnap him.
Probably depends on what version of the story that you're talking about.
That's
But
true.
if we're going by the
I'm
Plagueis
sh-
novel,
there might be a canonized
Maul,
version of how it went.
Maul and Savage's mother gave Maul to to Palpatine.
Yeah. There might be a mall comic or a book somewhere that talks about it differently, but I'm assuming that's who they're going for.
You are right. That's what it says.
Ooh, yay. What is the name of Palpatine's loyal aide? Ooh,
Ooh,
Mas Amadilda, Mas Amilda, the
Noel.
the Pepe, the Pepe, the Papa,
Beppa,
hey. The
Dippable
Papa
lava.
Balaba. Reese Yas. Lot God. I think I read it right. It's the blue guy, right?
Uh, yeah, even though in the Plagueis novel, I think he was supposed to be the Vice Chancellor, but um, I
Order.
actually
We will
don't
have order.
know.
I know, I was about to
I
say
act-
I don't recognize any of these names.
okay. Well, I know Dippable lava.
That sounds
I know
familiar.
she's not,
Who is
but I
that?
don't know. She's a Jedi, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, she's a Jedi.
I'm thinking it's either the Moss or a Lot.
Oh,
But I think it's Moss about
I was thinking it was the
Resius.
Rios person. Rios,
Oof.
Rios.
All right, what are we gonna go with? Because I'm gonna do the same thing you're doing. Because less stakes that way.
Uh, Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Oh, you pick which one you want to do, and then I'll pick the right one.
Okay, I picked mine. You picked your right one.
All right. Well, which one do you pick?
Oh, I'm not telling you that because I want to pick. I want to pick the same one you do. Because if you
Well,
pick the
no,
right
no, no.
one,
See, no. See, I need you to make your choice, and then I can eliminate one of the options if you're wrong.
okay. Dippable lava.
Hey, you already picked that. No, no, no. I want you to pick it, and see if it says you're wrong.
Okay. Okay. Well, it told me which one was the right one.
Ooh, but which one did you pick?
Lot.
You picked Lot, so that was not the right one. Okay, so then I'm gonna go with it was Masamada.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I was leaning towards that one, but I guess I still cheated. So,
Who introduced a motion before the Senate to give emergency powers to Palpatine? Read that wrong, but whatever. Bail Organa. The Bail Organa. Padme Amidala. Chancellor Valorum. Or Jar Jar Binks. Definitely Chancellor Valorum. Because
yeah,
he
because
was
he
still
was still
around,
around.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously when Palpatine was Chancellor, he had another Chancellor hanging around.
Yeah,
Okay, Jar Jar Binks.
obviously.
Which Jedi did Palpatine not strike down with his own lightsaber?
Um,
What? Hold up. Kit
so
Fisto, Mundi, Stacey Tin, and Agent Chlor. Blah, blah, blah. Agent Clorar. That's still not how you pronounce it, but that's what I'm gonna stick with because I'm tired of trying to pronounce it.
it, it's literally just the three that he immediately kills and Mundi, who the
So
clones kill. So
is it Mundi then?
yeah, because it's the one he did
'Cause-
not strike down.
yeah.
So it's just
So all right. Well,
what?
let's see. Yeah. All right. It's just you're looking at that and you're like, well, it was a weird question. I mean,
It
like
should have
obviously it
been. It should have
makes
been like. It should have been Windu.
yeah. Well, I thought at first when it said did not strike down with his own lightsaber, like maybe they're talking about he used another lightsaber. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Okay. What unprecedented action did Palpatine take during the events of? I think it's just supposed to be Star Wars: A New Hope, but what's with all the random?
I have no idea because I was
So
wondering that myself.
it's got like Star Wars: A New Hope is like ended with the greater than, less than symbols, and then EM on each end. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, he promoted Tarkin to Grand Moff. He ordered the execution of former senators. He appointed all new members to the Imperial Senate. He dissolved the Imperial Senate. Now, this is an
I'm
interesting one because
thinking.
if you're not, because if you've only seen A New Hope a couple of times, you might not actually know this one because
I'm
it's line in
thinking.
passing.
I'm thinking it was he dissolved the Senate, but I'm not very remembering of this.
That's what I remember too.
Well, let's go see if that's what the right answer is. Yep,
Mhm.
David, we're on a roll.
All right,
Except you're not, because you got a question. You got a question wrong.
all right. What were
You were the guinea pig.
Palpatine's last words?
All right. Well,
So if you will not turn, you will be destroyed. So yet die. Now, young Skywalker, you will die. This is the end for you.
I'm
None of these sound
assuming.
right.
Well, I think. Okay, so we're going off of the
New Hope,
Return of the
Return
Jedi.
of the Jedi.
Yeah, we're going off of A New Hope, which he didn't appear in. So, none of the above. Uh, I think it's now young Skywalker, you would die, because he started electrocuting him. Did he say anything after that?
Um, I mean, he went ah as he was falling down the hole, but I don't
Okay,
think that counts.
but David. All right, so Ellie is starting to go randomly. Okay, we haven't counted those as her first words, so I don't think that those count as last words either. No, it was funny. We were sitting there watching the show last night, right? And she's sitting behind me. We're sitting on the bed, and she's sitting on the bed behind me, and she just starts going and I kept turning around to tell her to shush because she was being too loud, and then she kept looking up at me, and she was just like David, she's gonna start talking one of these days, and you know what? As much as I love her, she's never gonna shut up because I never did. So why would I expect her to do anything less? I'm gonna raise a mini me, and it's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know
So,
if that's the. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing, but
oh, probably not. But if we come to a consensus on what we think the answer is, because I think it's young Skywalker, you shall die.
I'm not sure. Because like I said, I think he did say all of these in um Return of the Jedi, but I'm not sure which one was actually which.
Ha ha ha! But see, now I am. The only question is did I get it right or wrong?
Um, you sure?
No, we see the gears turning. We see them grinding. Oh, they stopped.
Nah, you're probably right. It's probably now, young Skywalker, you die.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
probably
either that
am.
or it's either that or so be it, Jedi.
See, those were the two options I had, but I was obviously leaning towards one a lot heavier than the other one. So,
Okay. Well, I'm just
what'd you
gonna go
do?
and click it.
Good, my young apprentice. You know just as much about Palpatine as the Sith Lord himself. Congratulations. Now go shout unlimited power at the top of the Senate building. I thought I was going to say at the top of your lungs, and good thing I did not.
Good, good. Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. You almost
And
achieve mastery of all things Palpatine. give in to your anger and fly again. Now that
Oh
you've
yeah, I
seen
forgot you.
how well, now that you've seen how well you know Palpatine, find out how well you know Han Solo.
Yeah, I forgot you. You suck and you missed one.
I forgot you cheated, and
Well, okay. So technically you were the guinea pig, but I still succeeded. So, um, anyways,
I should have just told you that I got it
um,
right.
I wouldn't have believed you.
Hmm.
I wasn't as strongly leaning towards Mazda as Mazma, but I was more heavily leaning towards that than Lot. So, oh
Eh,
boy.
it is what it is. Well, um, I feel like we haven't learned much more about Palpatine than we knew before, but it was still an interesting episode. Do you have anything more to wrap up this episode, or
I would say no. I probably should say no. Say no to
okay?
drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids. This is your PSA from the Star
Unless you're
Wars
really, really,
podcast.
unless you're really, really, really pressured into doing death sticks, then maybe it's okay.
Wanna buy some best
You want to go home and rethink your life.
You wanna buy some best sticks?
I didn't wave the hand. That's why it didn't work. Here's some pixie dust.
Was that what Obi-Wan did?
Yeah, he said, "Go home, pixie dust, bibbity bobbity boo, make it blue."
See, and here we thought it was a, Jedi mind trick, but it was actually just
Yeah. Little do you know that Obi-Wan is actually a take on Tinkerbell. That's why he wears that little skirt.
okay.
Now, as he gets older, when we see him in A New Hope, he has to take it down because he ain't got the legs no more. But it's okay.
Okay. Um, moving on from that, why don't you go ahead and take us to an outro?
Alrighty. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of X-Wing Radio. Be sure to join us next Monday for a brand new episode. Again, like I said, we are going to be talking about the Plagueis novel. So if you've made it all the way to the end and you're interested, come back, listen to us talk about the Plagueis novel. We will dive into it a lot deeper into that. Oh boy. Anyways, please leave a like, comment down below, and we'll see you next week.